So some assembly is required, but more than just assembly on your business. You can get lost day to day just putting the pieces together and figuring out how to rearrange things, but that's not the important part, really. The important part is knowing that action alleviates anxiety. So you're going to have all these problems, and if you just sit there and do nothing about them, and you try to go to sleep, you're not going to have a very good night's sleep, right? The best thing you can do is take a look at a problem and go, how can I start to solve this? Because even just the beginnings of solving a problem will get rid of that anxiety. It'll get rid of that what if. It'll give you that strength to go, okay, you know, I got this. I'm taking action. I'm not just sitting around and letting things happen around me. So there's going to be problems. There's always solution. And again, working the problem removes its fangs. It really does. Start working on the problem. Don't ignore it. Ignoring it is bad. Problems tend to get worse when you ignore them. Hello. So, when running a startup or a business, your problems are going to come on two fronts, really. There's business issues, cash flows, employees, your partners, your investors, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You got this whole sandwich of not very good tasting stuff going on. And then, oh, by the way, you still have a life. So you're going to have problems coming in. You're going to have personal issues, too. You're steering this ship, right? And then all of a sudden, like, you have a bad breakup. You know, and like you're super emotionally invested in this person. Some of you have been dating for a long time. Bad breakup. That's going to mess you up. You're going to need time to figure that part out. But you also have this business and there's this ship. And if you let go of the wheel entirely, the thing's going to crash into the rocks, right? So you know you always have that little bit of pressure. I honestly, from founders I've spoken to, the toughest problems are the personal ones and the intra-founder relationships and founder-investor relationships are way more trouble than the actual day-to-day business stuff. It's just anything interacting with other people that are important to you in your life, those are going to be the things that derail you. It's not going to be like, oh, well, you know, you're going to be shocked at first if you lose 10 of your, you know, first 30 customers or something. But you're going to be able to kind of work through that. But there's no real good answer to losing, like, the love of your life, for example. You just can't. That's hard to process. That's just time. So again, personal problems, they're going to mess you up every once in a while, even while you're running a business. So let's go through some business fun, okay? How about customer losses? That sounds awesome, doesn't it? This is going to happen to every single one of you. I don't care if you're a service business, which it can hurt even more in a service business, or a product business. You're going to have fluctuations in your customers. Your receivables are going to go up and down. You have to be prepared for this stuff. For the whole entire sine wave issue of a business, what you really want to make sure is that you have that cash flow and those cash reserves to deal with the troughs, especially in service businesses. I've dealt with both sort of an electronic product and my current business is a service business. When that trough hits, you need to be on with your marketing and everything else, but you need to be prepared. You can't just go, oh, if I lost a customer, I'm out of business. That's not a business. So what happens when you lose a customer? The first thing is take a deep breath, analyze the loss, right? Take a step back from everything, because right now you're in survival mode. You're possibly in panic mode, like, oh my God, our margins are shrinking, etc. Take a step back. Why did it happen? So can you make adjustments to your process? This is, again, part of that whole, if you start taking action, it removes the fear, it removes the anxiety from it. What can you do about your process, possibly, that may have caused you to lose this customer or your product? What could have been done to keep the account? Same idea. Was this your biggest account, right? Service companies have this, we have this big account thing that happens every once in a while. Well, what happens when you lose the big account? Ah, the world's ending, right? I have this giant account is a business problem. Okay, you need another one at that point. That's your problem. You have that one and you're sort of like counting on it to be your entire, like everything for your business. Don't do that. Once you get that one, don't get comfortable. But yeah, I'm on easy street now. Look at that. Procter & Gamble, bam, that's mine. Yeah, well, that's nice, but when Procter & Gamble decides to leave you for God knows what, you need a backup. So don't allow that. That's a business problem, all right? What does your current pipeline look like? Is there a quick replacement for this customer? So you should have some kind of pipeline in place to acquire new customers, especially in the service business. You may have marketing going on, you may have direct sales, etc. In your pipeline, is there, especially in the service business, is there another customer that's just like maybe days away from agreeing to something? Grab that, get that in. Don't wait, don't procrastinate, don't cry. Like, start working now, because the faster you get that cash flow back, the better your life's going to be. That's one business fund. How about another one? Losing a key employee. This sucks, especially for a smaller startup. When you guys are just getting off the ground, you're going to have people that you depend on very heavily for things that you cannot do without. okay? This is, it's a reality. There's not a whole lot you can do about it, but weeping in the corner when something happens, when you lose somebody like this, isn't going to solve your problem. So what do you do? Again, with all of these problems, take a step back, analyze what just happened. Why was the employee a bad fit? Were they from a big company? They were expecting too much from a startup. Were they not happy with the current situations in the office? What was going on? Did you expect too much from them? Were you overworking them? Startups also tend to do this thing where they're like, yeah, I'm going to pay you $10 an hour and you're going to work 120 hours. Like, that's great at first, but everybody burns out. So were you expecting too much from them? Did you listen when they were having concerns about their personal time or other things going on in their life? As much as being a founder does involve sort of trying to juggle a lot of people that you need but can't always give them exactly what they deserve, being compassionate about their problems, being there for them is important. You know, you have to recognize that they're working for you as part of your dream. And so that's an important piece of your puzzle. And taking care of them and listening is super important. So do you need to maybe provide more structure or encouragement? Like, sometimes people just need to hear, hey, you did a really good job. Like, that was awesome. Sometimes not providing that will kill you. You have to tell them, like, because it gets so routine, especially for people that are, this is the irony, I think, for people that are very talented, it gets easy to stop telling them how good they did because they just consistently do a great job, right? But that's not good enough. People need to hear you're valued. You're an important part of this team. They need to hear it, and it needs to be reiterated. Do you need to work on your culture? Is something messed up in your office? Are you letting screwed up stuff happen that you're losing people because of? That's your problem. As CEO, as somebody that's running COO, it is your responsibility to make sure that your culture is not toxic and that there aren't people running around pissing other people off or just doing stupid stuff because they can or because they get some kind of weird pleasure out of it, whatever. So is your culture okay? Do people treat each other okay? How can you improve that without just saying, oh, there's one bad egg, let's fire him? Because usually that's not the case, right? There's a lot of stuff that can be done to improve a culture, to make sure that people mesh better together. And as the leader, as the owner of this whole dream, it is your responsibility to make sure that the people that are working with you and for you feel comfortable where they're working and feel valued, even by their coworkers as well. So the last thing to remember is, if you lose somebody that's really key, especially in the small stages, most of the time the business can still survive, but you're going to have to find somebody to replace them. You can't just take all of that work onto yourself and go, I'll just do this myself. That's just a ridiculous thing to do. You also have a personal life that you need to be active in. You can't just do business. Now, that goes counter to the whole let's grind and grind and grind until things work thing, but guess what? A good sign that something's messed up is that you're continuously grinding from 8 to 8 every day. Or 7 to 10, or whatever your crazy grind schedule is. That means you probably need to make an adjustment in your business. It's not that you're so awesome that you can just keep doing it. No, it means that something's probably broken and you need to take a look at it. So don't take that grind as this badge of honor, because too many people burn out and it's no good. So your business might have to change, but it can survive. Figure it out. Find that replacement. If you can take a little bit of that work on yourself, do it. But if it's a tremendous amount of work, as a key employee probably is, start finding somebody really quick. But know that you will. People are irreplaceable in that everybody's unique. But to do a certain task, you can usually find somebody to do it just as well or almost as well. Or at least even temporarily while you try to figure the situation out. Oh, this one's fun. Layoffs. So, service companies, you're doing okay for a while, you're doing okay, you lose a few accounts you weren't expecting, there's a couple delays in getting some new business in, and you're like, I can't make the bills. I've had to do this once. This is one of the hardest conversations to ever have with people, especially people that have been there since the beginning. You get into a business that's 4 or 5 years old, you start to get to know people. One of my mistakes, take it from me, I always tried to operate my startups like a big family. And I thought that was the way to do it, and in some ways you need a little bit more disconnect than that. Because when this stuff happens, this will destroy you if you're too close. And so I would say, be a great human being to your employees, but keep a safe distance to the point where at some point some bad things may have to happen, like you might have to fire them or something, and you cannot allow your emotions to get in the way. You can't let it delay what you need to do either, because the business relies, and everybody that is part of that business relies on you to make sound decisions for the entire business, not just this one person that you might have to let go. I don't have super good advice for this one, except for the fact that it's going to leave you with a terrible feeling, and you need to own it too. Because as somebody that's, say, CEO, your whole entire responsibility is culture, getting new customers, making sure the money keeps flowing. That's it. That's what you have to do. So if this happens, you messed up. Don't beat yourself up over it. But just know that there's probably something that needed to change and needs to change. And so you have to own it. And I ask people like all the time, have you owned it? Have you owned that problem? Are you doing something to take care of it? And this is one that you have to own. But don't kill yourself over it. It's gonna be hard no matter what you do. So analyze your failure to retain and attract new business. How can that improve? Where was your sales? Where was your marketing? What was messed up? What caused this to happen? Because this is a money flow issue. This isn't a people issue. A firing is a people issue. This is a money flow problem. Now, this may have been a firing that you were nice and laid somebody off instead of firing them, but then you won't feel bad. That's something totally different. So dwelling on how badly everything is going fixes absolutely nothing. It's an easy trap to fall into. Don't fall into it. Everything's not falling apart. You'll probably make it through. You just got to figure it out. And if your head's not in the game, you can't figure it out. So, more business fun. This is a pretty general run, right? The business isn't working. What does that mean? Well, it means you're not getting new customers. It means your cash flow is probably not where you need it to be. It means you're not growing, because usually if you're not growing by at least a little bit, you're going to end up dying because your customers don't last forever, right? They stick around for a while. Service companies, for example, or even services and products, like they're going to use your service for a while, they're going to buy your products and stuff, but those same people may not come on every single month. So you need to be in a growth trajectory at all times. You need to be going, you need to have those next accounts or those that next subscription coming, however that is. So the business isn't working. So what do we do? Well, the first thing is examine your products and services. Like, which are most profitable? What's working for you? Take a look at that and say, why are those ones working and these ones aren't? Are these other things that we're doing just a liability to our business? Like, do we need these things? Are they filling our core goals? Does anybody want this stuff? Business failure is because somebody doesn't want what you're making. I mean, that's it. Or for the price that you need them to buy it at. It's not a big enough problem for them to solve to purchase from you, okay? And so when this stuff is happening, when the business isn't working, it's money flow. There's something going on with your products. So which of your products or services are most profitable? Can you increase acquisition around those products? Is it possible that your whole entire business model, I don't know if I put this on here, but one of the other important ones is it possible that your entire business model, your pricing model isn't right? Like, this is something that companies go through all the time, especially when you're first starting. You have no idea what you need to charge because you don't know exactly how much everything costs. You don't know exactly how many people are going to need to be working on this thing. So you go and you throw prices out there, hourly prices, whatever, fixed prices, however, and it doesn't work. There's too many people, there's too much overhead some other way. You might want to raise your price. I mean, a lot of people are adverse to that, especially in the service industry. Well, so-and-so does it for 20 bucks an hour, so I'm going to do it for 19. Haha, show him. No, you're not. You just screwed yourself really bad in a lot of cases, okay? So take a look at your pricing. What are you doing that provides value to that customer over and above the other stuff that might be cheaper? Raise your prices if you have to. Like, people aren't going to like it at first, but if it makes your business work, that's better than failing and people not liking that. Because if you're not around to do what they need, they're going to go to somebody else and probably be pissed off that you didn't even take care of your own business, right? Like, well, great. Now I don't know what to do because I was using this thing you provided and it's gone now. So you're doing any sales work at all? This is another big one. So tech companies have this mindset of, if it's awesome, it will just sell itself. It just doesn't work that way. All the products and stuff, there's stuff that goes viral, but the vast majority of stories that you read, it's like, yeah, we kind of like, for like 3 years, and we had all this marketing money going out, and we had all these investors pouring money, and then finally something happened. But what do you think happened during those first few years when things were just kind of bobbling around? They were dealing with this. Were they doing the sales work right? Like, what were they missing? And they had to keep tweaking and changing and figuring things out. That's what you need to be doing when your sales aren't working, when you're not getting those numbers in. Figuring out why. Eventually, if your service makes sense and people want it, they're going to start buying it. But if they've never heard of it, or if there's nobody trying to push it, there's nobody telling people about it, nobody's going to buy it. It's not just going to, well, I can't count the number of times too. Oh, I put an app on the App Store. That's great. There's like 10 million apps on the App Store right now, and like you're never going to get to the top magically. You know, like you have to do something about it. You have to spread the word some way. You need to look for new salespeople. If you're in a service business, are the salespeople actually selling? Or what do their numbers look like? Like, take a look. It's like, why are we not doing so good? You're supposed to be selling. Don't be a dick, but there's probably a reason. There's something going on there. Is there a pivot? Okay, so you're looking at your products, and you're like, people don't want what we're selling. That sucks. I mean, hopefully that would come up in some of your initial market research and some of the initial work you're supposed to be doing as a startup, but sometimes this happens, right? Like, no, people don't want that, but they want this. And we could do that in 2 months, right? Is there a pivot you could do to get yourself out of this situation? The business isn't working as bad, right? So could you do something else that's similar, that can utilize the skills that you have on board, but make money? Are there any new ideas that you're just sitting there and you're like, well, we don't need them right now. Screw those ideas. This happens all the time. You got something just sitting on the shelf and you're like, I think I might want to do this, but I'm running day-to-day business and it's doing okay. So I ain't got time for that. We're going to keep it on the shelf. Maybe that new idea is what's going to pull you out of this, the business isn't working thing, right? Execute on it. Do some tests. Go ask people. Go talk to people just like you did originally when you started your business, right? Hey, do you think this is a good idea? Go figure, do some market validation. Figure it out. If it sounds like that's a good idea, that could be your savior from this scenario. You can't just sit and do nothing. Because you sit and do nothing, you already know what's going to happen because you've seen it over X months where you were watching this happen. When things are not going well, one of the things, and I'll explain this at the end, and this is a Bob Parsons quote from GoDaddy. Not my favorite company in the world, but makes a really good point. When nothing's going well, just remember they can't eat you. And I'll explain that at the end. Lazy business partner. This one's really fun. This sucks. So I'm not going to name anybody or talk about anything or anything like badmouth anybody, but I had a 3-way split with 2 other people for a business. And we were dumb, so we did a 33% equity split because we're stupid. Again, there's better ways to do that. There's books that you should read about it. So we split the equity, and then after everything started to work, one of the partners in the business was like, "Meh, I'm just gonna go do what I want now." Now these people are pulling paychecks. What's that?
He was gonna do what?
Just do whatever he wants. I'm done. I don't want to work anymore. Well, legally, you're married now. That's what a business partnership is. You are married. So he owns 33% of everything you bring in profit-wise. Yikes, right? And this person's like, bah! Well, step A, don't just do an even equity split unless you know what you're doing and it's, all the other people are hard workers. Don't do it. But once you're in this problem, once you're in this mode of, what do? You get really upset first. There's nothing you can do, but you have to be careful on how you talk to somebody, right? So another case could be that they're not lazy, but they're not who you thought they were. They need more structure than you're providing or that have been provided. Some people need structure to function and work. Okay, so make sure they just don't need some structure. Like, hey, I got this cool thing that you could work on. Just suggest, because remember, now if they're an even partner with you, you're not their boss, right? So this can't be you need to do this, because it's not going to fly. Hey, there's this cool idea we have, there's this thing we want to do, and I think you'd be good to head it up, and I really want you to take the reins on it. Be a human being with them, right? See if maybe they just need some direction and structure. So are you the visionary in your company? Can you motivate them? Can you get them excited about the business again? Maybe they're just bored. Maybe they're like, you know what? I've been doing this for a couple of years without any real seeing much or whatever. Things are starting to take off, but I'm just not interested in it anymore. So are you the visionary? Can you motivate them? Finally, you don't have the ability to just remove them from the company. That would be amazing, but it doesn't work that way. Even if you can prove they're doing nothing, it doesn't matter. You sign a piece of paper, you're screwed. Okay, so if they're a bad fit, now, can you buy them out? Okay, and this is a solution to this problem. What's your valuation for the company? How much do they own? And how much do you have to pay to get rid of them? Now, you don't necessarily have to go down that route. Maybe they just want a small amount of money to jump out. If your business is worth $10 million or something, maybe they'll accept $500,000, $250,000, something like that. Maybe they just want to pay off their house or something. You never know. If they're just bored and they want money and they want out now, especially if you're in a mode where you're not like hockey stick growth, you can talk them and say, look, this is where we think things are going to go. We don't think they're going to be as good as we thought, whatever, and try to negotiate that way as well. One way or another, though, you're stuck with this person until you get rid of them. And you can't kill them, and you got to buy them out.
Legally, I was like, yeah.
I mean,
Damn it.
okay, so I'm going to spend actually a bit more time on this stuff, because this is the stuff that when I talk to people, and in my own personal experience, this is the stuff that really hits. The business stuff happens. Most entrepreneurs are very good at dealing with business stuff because we do have our action plans. There's a few things that pointed out that maybe hopefully you got some insight from, but this stuff is what kills businesses. It's this. It's this and it's interpersonal relationships between the people in the business, which is still personal. It's not a business thing. It's a people thing, right? So difficulties in business are going to also correspond with difficult personal events because the world is not fair. You're going to go through the worst breakup ever, you're going to get divorced, something bad is going to happen while your business is tanking. This is just the way events work. It's like I don't know if you guys heard the laws of three, but that seems to work very well for me. It's like 3 things go really well, and then a series of 3 things go badly. So you're going to be dealing with personal issues at the same time you're dealing with business problems. Okay, now the personal problems can be coincidental, or they can be related to the business. And the ones that are related to the business are the ones that are going to cause you the most grief. And we'll go through one of those scenarios. To give 100% to your business, you really have to be okay in your personal life. If you got some weird stuff going on and you got some family things happening and it's really hard at home, that's going to come out. Like no matter how strong you are, at some point, that stuff is going to be really hard to deal with. And so I have just a few pointers on personal things and best ways to deal with them as an entrepreneur, because you're a special group of people. You're dealing with a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure. You're trying to steer this thing that you want to be really big, or maybe just support your family and whatever your dream is, but that dream has so much wrapped into it. Your whole future's in there, right? And you have this idea on how that's going to go. And so anything that is if you're threatening to jeopardize that is going to cause you a whole lot of anxiety. So your personal happiness can offset business difficulty too. So do not underestimate how important your friends and family and your support system is. Don't work late hours for 6 months and ignore everybody. And then when you finally need them, you go back to them and you go, hey guys, I'm here. Let's go party. People are not going to respond very well to that. You cannot do that. You have to maintain both your personal relationships and your business relationships. It's very important. Okay, personal fun, relationship stress. So you're going to definitely experience some relationship stress due to work as an entrepreneur. If you're close to somebody and you start a business, when you're first starting this thing up, it's going to be a real pain in the ass. And you're going to have to take time away from people that you would normally spend with. This could be really close friends, it could be your fiance, spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, but you're going to have to take that time away. And so this is going to be hard. So, first thing you do, end all relationships. You're a slave to your customers. That's a joke. I was hoping that one might get a chuckle, but no, don't do that. That's bad for everybody and your mental health, right? So, are you balancing your time? Can you spend more time with your significant other or your friends? Are you burning yourself past the point of usefulness? Okay, now, this is something that all entrepreneurs never understand. There's a point of diminishing returns to work. You can work and work and work and work and work, and at some point, you're no longer working. You're making mistake after mistake after mistake, and you're making more work for yourself later. Okay? Before you get to that point, you need to stop. Because tomorrow, you're going to regret all that stuff that you messed up when you worked, 6 a.m. to 12, and then you got up at 6 and did it again, and then you messed everything up, or you accidentally deleted all these customer accounts, or you wrote a nasty email because you weren't, in the best mood. Don't burn yourself out. It seems like common sense, but when you're doing the whole grind thing, it's not always common sense. So, do you need to get additional help? Why don't you have additional help? Like, if you're grinding like that, is the problem money? Is it, for early stage startups and early stage businesses, it's okay. Okay, you don't have the help. There's not a lot you can do about it. Sometimes you have to put the time in. You still have to maintain communication with people that you care about. But if you're like 5 years into something and you're still doing this, you need to adjust your business model immediately. You cannot sustain 18 hours of work a day. You have no personal life at that point. It's at some point, I don't care whether it's 2, 3 years down the road, 10 years down the road, at some point you're going to be messed up. That's just all there is to it. Like you blew away your entire support system because you did nothing but grind. You're going to need people around. Keep open communication, especially for those of you, how many people in here are married? Okay. With your spouse, keep open communication. Let them know what's going on. Keep your promises. That's huge. Okay, so you might be a really hard worker, and you're doing this for the love of your family, the bottom of your heart. The most important thing to the people that love you is your time. You can't give anything more special than your time. That's your commodity in life. When there's something important going on, how many of you have kids? That's the next slide. When there's something really important going on, you need to be there. You need to promise, you need to not break those promises because that's what's going to screw you. Okay? If I know that you have to work, I know you have all this stuff to do and you're running this business and it's exciting and everything else, but there are people in your life you have to take care of. Don't break your promises. Kids and startups. I have an 18-month-old daughter. So this whole new fun is new to me about guilt and everything else from being away from my child. So this one is definitely near and dear to my heart. So for those of you that don't have children yet, this is big when you hit a startup. You are going to feel pretty crappy if you're not around your kids very much. So children change the way you look at your life. Okay, so as an entrepreneur, when you have kids, you want to be there for them. You don't want to be that person that's never home and that your kid never sees and that your kid's going to soccer or they have a play and you have to miss it because you're grinding. No, that's a waste of your life. Life is not all just work. No matter what you do, you're going to have guilt over spending time away from your kid. Okay? No matter what you do. When I have to take a business trip for a week and a half, I'm on FaceTime with my little girl at least once or twice a day because I feel guilty, because I want to be there with her. Okay? She's going to remember those things. That's what's important to me, is that I'm there, I'm getting that attention, I'm giving that attention that she needs. I'm trying to make a difference even though I have to do this business trip, right? Don't beat yourself up. Do the best you can. There's going to be times you're going to get stuck in the office, okay? You hope and pray that those times are not when there's something important for your kid going on. You know what? Depending on what the scenario is, unless this is a business-ending problem, maybe you should just ignore it and go to the damn recital. Because really, what's going to change? I mean, your kid's going to remember that forever. But your current client, you may not even have this freaking business in 3 years. You're going to have your kid for the rest of your life. Don't cancel some really important thing for your kid because some client's having a hissy fit. It's always going to feel like you're spending too much time working. This is something that I've felt since I had my daughter. I even at some point, I was home and I'm spending time with her, a few days, just nothing but being with my child. And by the time I got to the end of it, I was like, why did I even do this startup thing, right? Because kids are that powerful. They give you so much unconditional love, and you just feel it. And so when you're working, it starts to change the way that you think about a business. And you start to say, how can I make this more integrated with my family and my child, right? And so it makes a huge difference in the way that you think. So always remember, though, and this is a key factor because I've had to talk to employees about this and other startup founders. A normal job is not a guarantee you won't be working crazy hours and traveling. So when you're comparing what you're doing to what you could be doing, or when your spouse says, why don't you just get a regular job? There is a precedent for, salespeople, they're traveling all the time. There is a precedent for this. Kids do survive, they're resilient. So even if you're working a lot, just keep your promises. And yeah, there's no guarantee in life. There's no guarantee in a job versus entrepreneurship that you're going to have more time. Just be there for the important things. Work is only part of your life. So the key fact to this, and something I want to describe, I was facilitating a 3-day startup at Texas A&M. And 3-day startup it's like a weekend. You get a bunch of college students or random people that want to become entrepreneurs. They come in on a Friday. They pitch an idea. The ideas are whittled down to basically 5 to 7 teams, and then everybody that didn't get their idea picked joins one of the other teams, and they do a startup. They basically form a startup in that time. While I was there, I was feeling guilty. I was away from my daughter for something that wasn't even a moneymaker for me. It did nothing for me. I was just trying to give my time back. because I believe in that. But I was taking time for my daughter, and I just felt terribly guilty. And I was sitting outside, and one of the students came up to me, and she, started talking to me, and she had a group of friends with her. And she said, you seem like, she said, we really love what you're doing, but every once in a while it seems like you're not quite here. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, why? And I said, I have a newborn daughter. I feel like really guilty for being away. I'm having just trouble concentrating every once in a while. And she said, you know what? She said, my father worked a lot too. He worked in sales. He was always flying all over the country and all over the world. And she said, and this killed me. And, started to tear up and everything. She's like, I will love my father for the rest of my life because regardless of the fact that he wasn't always there and his presence wasn't always with me, for the important things, he always came. He came to my games, he came to my recitals, he came to all the important things, and I always knew my father would be there when I needed him. And so that was important to me, and I think it's important for you guys with kids to know that no matter how crazy stuff gets, just actually want to be there and show your kids that you're going to be there for the important stuff. And apparently that's okay. Apparently that's happened a lot, and kids understand. So just a story from an experience. So personal fun, major life changes. So things are going to be happening in your personal life you don't have very much control over. These are breakups, again, divorces, stuff that we've talked about. Some of them are going to be painful, and they're going to require you to make time for you. This is an unfortunate fact of life. Sometimes things hit us so hard that no matter how badass we are, we just need time. We need time to recover. It could just be getting sick, too. Like, you're stuck in the hospital. What happens to your business? These are things you need to think about. Regardless of the fact they don't happen very often, they're going to happen. Okay, so what do? Do you have a contingency plan? Who can you lean on? So for the cases for major life changes, you're going to need time for yourself. Whether this is some kind of major breakup or you're sick or something like that, you need to take care of you at that point. Like the business is no good without you there. It's no good without you there 100% either. You need to make it a priority to step back. If you need time to think or you need time to work on something that you're having a problem with or you're sick again, you need to be able to take that time to walk away a little bit. You're going to need help. So this is the point at which your entire support system is going to be tested. You're going to be calling for small businesses, for stuff that's just getting started, but it's starting to take off. You may be calling your family, maybe your parents. You might even be calling in your spouse to help out, like help you do whatever you need done. You might be calling on favors from friends. Hey guys, I need you. Like, I'm going through some stuff right now. I'm in the hospital, whatever. But this stuff can't stop because this is where my money's coming from. I can't just disappear. Like, I need to step away but still have things run, right? So these times, also reconnect with who you are. Do not make important business decisions when compromised. If you